Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Organic Matters, the podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. And I'm delighted to say that Selena McKenzie is here with us today, a sheep farmer, and we haven't had a sheep farmer for a while. So, Selena, thank you very much. Whereabouts in the country are you based?
I'm based in County Wicklow on the east coast of the mountains. So we have a lovely view down to the sea, and then we have mountains behind us, which, considering I grew up in Longford, where the land was very flat, and it is a joy of dry land in comparison of what I grew up with.
And views. There is something especially lovely about Wicklow. I just feel like the atmosphere is different. I don't know, is it all the broadleaf trees or what is it? But it is a lovely spot. And how big is the farm, and how many sheep do you have?
We have, we're on 57 hectares, about 143 acres, and we've got 6 acres of woodland in the centre of the farm, and then we try and run and lamb down 300. We're in and around the 300 mark every year, was our ideal, but sometimes things happen. And we this year, just going through the ewes, we had a lot of mastitis in the summer, so that a lot of those that I hadn't treated during the summer showed up when we were handling them. So we've got a handful of culls that picked up just before we brought them to the ram, which is a bit of pain. So I'd say would be 290, 300 this this lambing.
How do you
deal? And we keep all our replacements.
You don't do any fancy homeopathy or any kind of any
No, but funny you should say that. Myself and Alex went to Biofarm in the Knots, and I did pick up a book of homeopathy and brought it home, but I haven't quite got there yet as in treatment. So, but every day's a school day, and I do think there's a lot to be said for it. People have friends up the road, and he would swear by it. So I think there's a culture of lack of confidence in using homeopathy in agriculture, which is more a reflection of us than the homeopathy, if that makes sense.
What do you think caused all the mastitis? Was it just the?
And I think the weather this year wasn't particularly nice in the early summer, and that made them cold, and they were lying around. Maybe there was a bit more mud around when they would have been milking. That would be a practical, thing of it. Maybe the fly was more aggressive this year. I haven't heard that from any other farmers saying that they had particularly bad fly, maggots. But
what breed of sheep would you have, and do you finish the lambs yourself, and where do you send them?
We ran a Belle Claire for quite a few years, and then a Clin for our breeding ewes, and then back onto a Texel, but this last year then we used Texel because they've got a low worm resistance, so that's very attractive in an organic situation. And then we've actually run a New Zealand Romneys, 2 New Zealand Romneys this last year, and we're going to keep some of those ewe lambs this year. Our ewes got very small, and then when you return them to the factory, when they're end of life, you don't have any weight. They're too small basically. I mean, they're great mothers and they milk well, but you don't get a good price for them at the other end. So we wanted to put a bit more size into the carcass, and so the Romney is good worm resistance, hardy, and hopefully we'll get a bit of a bigger size. But though we still are very loyal to the old Texel, I'm very fond of them.
And when you talk about finishing lambs for the factory, what weight would you be aiming for, and do you feed any concentrates, because concentrates are more expensive as well in organic?
Yeah, of course. Look, we put in a kale turnip mix this autumn, and we're fattening them off that. But we also are giving, we're taking out the heavier lambs and giving them a sprinkle of combi crop, which is oats, bit of wheat, and beans and peas run through it. And so we're killing out sort of 18, 19, 21, 22. They're grading R3s. Obviously, Texels at the beginning of the season, they were quick to finish, and most of them gone, and they're grading ewes start, and possibly heavier weights, now that I'm thinking back on them. But
what kind of...
and yeah, we'd be from the Clin Belcourt. I think we'd very rarely get heavy, up to the 23 mark. We're 21, 22 kilos on the kill sheets, and they go to ICM Camolan as organic lamb. Yeah.
What kind of prices? What kind of price were you getting this year?
Jeez, Hannah, I can't be telling you that.
I know it's a very personal question, but I ask everyone.
What lies can I tell you?
Fair.
We were, I want to say we were getting 720 a kilo, and I look at Alex's brains behind finances. The heavier ones, came in pretty much, I want to say 143, 147. I got quite excited about hitting 150. But I don't think we had a 150. But yeah, that was, we get, I want to say 15% more than the conventional price.
Are you happy with that?
Look, you can always do with some more. But yes, I think we are. Yeah. Look, we're not spreading fertilizer. There's a lot of positives that are finance saving on the other side. And maybe if you don't get it completely back from the market, it's not a justification for not thinking that you're getting extra in the market. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. Like, now we did spread a bit of, you are allowed to spread rock phosphate, and we have entered the line thing, and they've pushed the tonnage of fat up, so that's all positive. And I think in overall, if you were to look at us before we were conventional, when we were conventional, and we've been organic since 2017, that we probably are more using less anthelmintics. We fecal egg sample, and then only do a percentage of the lambs, whereas before they'd all come in, you'd dose them all, because you had a dry day. Now we'd be dosing them we'd be more discerning on a dose, which is the correct way, and
you mentioned as well the 50, but ideally it is at least 15% premium on organic lamb over conventional lamb. But there are a lot more sheep farmers now in organic conversion, potentially coming on track as well. Are you concerned at all that there might be too many organic sheep farmers in the country and that could pull the price down?
Well, that is a possibility. It's complicated. Having gone down to Biofarm, and the new board beer chap, Emmett, gave an absolutely fantastic overview of organics within Europe. And now lamb might be the top end of it if people are making a change in their housekeeping. But there's definitely more of a discernment of the shopper for organics. So I caveat it all with that. Like, there's lamb is always expensive. It's the treat, isn't it? It's the lobster of the land as opposed to your everyday dinner. So I think some of that lamb will go, the price will pull a bit, but it just depends how much marketing gets done and how we get it out there. It's, we're stuck between which comes first, the chicken or the egg. You need the market for the lamb. But if you don't have the lambs coming on, then you can't guarantee it for the market, if you get my meaning. Yeah. And I think that's a frustration for the factories, that they don't know what volume of organic lamb are coming. But yeah, no, I look, I'm an optimist.
Yeah, you seem very positive. It's nice actually to talk to a positive sheep farmer. Sometimes they're hard to find.
Maybe it's Stockholm syndrome, and I'm in love with my jailer and my sheep and my jailer. I don't know whether that's being too flippant, but yeah,
You're just a happy farmer. I mean, it's a rare thing, but they are out there.
Yeah. Look, there's a huge, freedom and privilege to. I want to be corny and say being custodian of the land, but it is a privilege, to work in nature, and it has its, pressure points, and it has its worries, and some days your feet don't touch the ground, and other days, look, the storm today brought its own problems. Every day is different. And I think I'm now at a stage of my life where, there's, friends, my family come over, the next kid generation. Now, my own children are, not, well, of course they're interested, but chatting to other people about sheep. And we had a wonderful chap who's actually a chef, and he came down specifically to do the lambing because he wanted to know, what our season was and what it was like to be at that end of the the product, not at the he's at the cooking end of it. And and that was fascinating, and it was so lovely that was his angle of wanting to know where the food came from, and what was involved in sheep farming. He's come back quite a few times now.
Always nice to have an extra pair of hands as well.
Absolutely, and we never say no to them. I'm always on the. I catch a few every now and then in TY year, when they've got to put in a couple of weeks. And we've joined up with Acres as well, so we've got a bit of hedgerow to put in. And I'm on the lookout for stray humans to come and help.
I have an image of you with a shepherd's crook catching people.
Yeah,
like you would a sheep. But I suppose talk finally about the scenic area that you're in, and in Biofarm. They mentioned tourism on farms. Would that be anything that would attract you?
Well, that was a very fascinating talk, and more so fascinating for us because we do have 2 shepherd's huts on the farm, which we rent out, and they are based on, they are ex-shepherd's huts that the farmer used to sit in the field and tend his sheep back in the day. So and they're converted, and so it's a form of glamping, and they've been amazingly successful. And people have access to the farm, and we're quite happy to chat to them. And
people will have a lot of questions
about
the shepherd's huts, like insurance. How was it getting insurance?
Well, we do our insurance is through we're with Airbnb, and they have their own cover, and then we have public liability, and that's what we're running with.
Did you have to build? Did you have to build outside toilets and an outside shower?
We're compost loos, and then gas. They're off-grid solar panels, and they're compost loos, dry compost. So the pee goes one way, poo goes the other. So it's it's an amazing setup. And the solar panels with inverters into a car battery, so that runs the lights in the hut. And then they've got a little little stove and a gas fridge, and it's off grid. Disconnect, enjoy the view, look at stars.
What percentage of your overall farm income do you think the shepherd's huts make up? Would you say they make up maybe 20% or 10% of the overall income?
I'd say 10%, 20%.
That's a nice kind of add-on to have to.
Oh yeah, and I tell you, so it was. We embraced a bit of agri-tourism about. I'm 10 years now, and on Airbnb as a host, and whatever about the financial improvement to our estate, it actually was so lovely to have people coming to the farm and looking. We were on a treadmill of sort of penury, trying to make ends meet and juggling lots of balls, but not. And then the kids were heading to college and everything, and people came to the farm and told us how beautiful it was and how lovely it was and how lucky we were. And we'd sort of lost that because we were so busy, just trying to make ends meet and everything. And it was very cathartic to meet those people and for them to remind us of how lucky we were and how lovely it was. And a lot of them have come back again and again, and so that was a very positive direction that we took. Whenever that was, 2013, I think I signed up. In 2014 I got my first our first people coming to stay, and that was in a house, and we went on from there.
And Selena, give yourself a plug if people want to find you before you leave us. Where can they find you on Airbnb if they want to book a stay?
We are cozy and romantic shepherd's huts, or wild and romantic. Yeah, shepherd's huts. They'd be in. I never thought of the plug. Yeah, because I want to talk about the sheep.
Now you've done both. You've given your sheep a plug and you've given your shepherd's hut plug.
Yeah,
Selena, thank you so much. That was an absolute joy talking to you. And of course, for everyone listening, besides checking out Selena's Airbnb in Wicklow at one of those shepherd's huts, You know, you've been listening to Organic Matters, the podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. And for more on organics, you can go to www.irishorganicassociation.ie. But for me, Hannah Mulligan, thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you, Selena. And we'll be back.
No problem. Thank you, Hannah.
We'll be back again next week.